now listening to the Arsenal Therapy Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Arsenal Therapy Podcast. Today we're going to talk about Viktor Gyökeres. It was clear before he arrived he was going to score goals for Arsenal. He'd started well, 3 goals in his first 3 games. However, we all know what happened. The goals dried up. He went on a goal scoring drought, but those goals against Atletico Madrid feel absolutely huge. They feel like the kind of goals a striker needed to get over the line to take themselves to the next level. During his dry spell, he went on probably his best run of performances for Arsenal. His all-round game grew, and the only game where I was really a bit concerned about him was the West Ham game, and I felt that he needed a bit of a rest. The international break seemed to provide that. He looked much better against Fulham, had some good opportunities. But we're going to look at the goals against Atletico. We're going to look at some of his repeated actions, the repetitive things he does, and why they show the signs of a player that is ready to start scoring a lot of goals, and as a result, make Arsenal much more potent in front of goal. But firstly, let's start with that goal against Atletico, because that is the one that has broken his duck. It's the game that goal that really matters, and you can see it. So let's have a look at that from the start. You can see Zubimendi with the ball over the top, and it's Martinelli. But I'm going to pause it here. You can see where Viktor Gyökeres is, right in the center of the box, running towards the penalty spot. For Martinelli, this is an easy one. You've got a striker attacking the penalty spot in and around the edge of the 6. You know, if you put it there, they're going to do everything to get it. It also means there is a defender who's thinking about Viktor Gyökeres and not the ball. For Martinelli, he gets it. On this occasion, he chooses to go behind, plays it into Eza. Ball breaks, Gyokeres is in the box, and we know it's a scuff finish. It's into the bottom corner, but the ball goes into the net, and that's all that matters. 2 minutes after this, Viktor Gyökeres scores again. An equally scruffy goal, but one that was all about his follow-up, all about his movement in the box. And once again, he had a marker very, very close to him. But on that occasion, it was Gabriel went above and beyond to keep that ball in, comes charging around the back post. He's not letting the corner go to waste. Now, back across goal, Viktor Gyökeres is there to just tap it in with his belly. Very, very easy finish. But again, when a striker is down in their luck, we need to see goals like that. Sometimes you always say it doesn't matter how they go in. Well, for strikers, that's more important than any other position. We've seen Gyokeres strike the ball cleanly. We've seen him have numerous excellent movements in and around the goal. But what we haven't seen is those goals go in on a frequent basis. But I'm just going to look at some of his positioning to start with, because I think that's a really important thing. Alan Shearer talked about how Viktor Gyökeres has made Arsenal better because he makes the runs in behind, he stays central, and he takes defenders back rather than Havertz, by contrast, or Marino, who like to come short, get that ball, and allow the wingers to go in behind. Gyokeres is a player that stretches. He also keeps 2 centre-backs occupied on him. And you look at this. This is a very standard graphic. This is the West Ham game. You can see where Gyokeres is, right in the middle of the front 5. Arsenal with a 3-2-5 here. Very, very common for us to see this. It's either this system or a 2-3-5. We've been seeing this for a few years now, and now that we're fully powered up and back to full strength, we're seeing it back in play again on a regular basis. But here you can see Gyokeres stood right between the centre-backs, and there's 2 of them both standing looking at them. You can see one turning back looking at Gyokeres, the other eyes gaze fixated on him, because they know that he can run in behind and he can cause them real problems. And his heat map verifies that. If you look at where he's most congested, it is the centre of the box. He is a player that will run the channels, as we know. He's very, very good at that, very effective, and he's a great outball for Arsenal. We saw it the other night where Saka looks up, Gyokeres made a run down the right-hand channel and ends up basically the defender just lets him run into him. Arsenal win a free kick. But in that situation, there was nothing on. This was a complete outball for Arsenal that we didn't have last season. Kai Havertz is a very underrated stretcher, but that's not the core principles of his game. He is a player that likes to drop in deep, get the ball in and get players into the game. Gyokeres is a player that wants to run in behind to score. And this is happening a lot. You see here again, Gyokeres in the middle of the pitch, occupying 2 defenders very early on in the game. And what does Eza do? He looks up and he sees that Saka, for the first time, isn't being double marked. And why is he not being double marked? Because there's two big centre backs with their eyes locked on Gyokeres, and they're standing with a very, very tight distance. That means that the fullback distance between them and where Saka is much bigger. So it allows Saka to get in behind. The fullback's also not switched on, not standing in a line with the rest of the players, which is very un-Atletico-like. Saka gets in behind. He's a whisker away from getting that ball over. But you look at where Gyokeres is. This is the key thing here. He's standing in an area that's taking centre-backs away, and he's putting them under big, big pressure because they're scared of him. They know what they can do. And the thing with him, he may have come from Portugal, but he has scored goals at international level and in the Champions League. So defenders aren't going to let him loose. They're double marking him, and that means more room for Bukayo Saka. That means more room for Martinelli. And in this occasion, it meant that Eze was able to drop deep and play that pass. And that has numerous benefits, because what we're seeing is more and more players being able to play and not being restricted into certain areas. It's making the pitch bigger for Arsenal. It's given us a stretcher. It's allowing Saka to run in behind. It's allowing Saka to come infield, go deep, do whatever he wants, because he's not having 2 to 3 players locked on him the whole game. And you look at the Martinelli goal, because what I showed you here from Gyokeres in these two clips transcends into what happened with Martinelli. So let's have a look at that from the start. You see when Lewis Skelly gets the ball, middle of the park here, he gets it, he turns, he spins, and he starts to drive. Look at Gyokeres. He's making the run from the edge of the attacking third at this point. He's got 2 Atletico centre-backs. One of them is keeping an eye on the ball, but glancing over to see where Gyokeres is, Lewis Skelly keeps carrying. Gyokeres, again, this distance between them gets closer and closer. And you look right before Miles goes to make the run. So he's got an option here. Does he go straight? But these 2 centre-backs congest tighter and tighter on Gyokeres. He's taken them away from the play. And what that means is Lewis Skelly's able to go across the field into Martinelli. And again, look where Gyokeres is. I mentioned about him for his own goal, hitting the edge of the box, attacking the penalty spot. That's exactly where he's going here. The direction of travel for him is into the box, into an area where he can hurt Atletico. And this is something that we're seeing time and time again. Because he's done that, he has taken defenders away with him. Miles Lewis Skelly has also gone on a run right through the middle of the park. And as he's ran, he's got faster and stronger, and he's built up more power. And then his final ball is excellent. But what that's meant is the fullback has come towards him and come infield, and the midfielder tracking him has stuck with him. But suddenly Arsenal have 2 centre-backs that are very congested because they're looking at Gyokeres, which leaves the space for Martinelli. And again, look at when Martinelli hits this shot. Look where Gyokeres is. He's continued his run. He's attacked the penalty spot, and he's still going. He's ready for that ball to be popped up by Oblak and into his pathway to put it in the back of the net. That's something that Arsenal haven't had for a while. We've seen Havertz do it on occasion, but this true striker, this kind of ruthless finisher, is something that Kai isn't. Kai Havertz is one of my favorite players. There's so many skills in his locker, but what Gyokeres is doing in these situations, that's not Kai's game. And that's not to take anything away from Kai. There's things that he does very, very well that Viktor Gyökeres can't do. But on these occasions, this gives us a different dimension, and it's making us more potent in attack. And that's something that we're seeing time and time again. We're seeing these runs. We're seeing him really, really cause teams problems, and he's only getting better as a result. If you look where his touch map is, it's all over the park. But again, the most touches that you're seeing are in and around the center of the park. He is someone that is contesting a lot of duels. And one thing that I am noticing is that his duel contesting is becoming better. So there are games where he struggles. I think the West Ham game I'm going to point again to, that was a game he struggled. And the Fulham game at times, I thought he was hit and miss. However, overall, when I look at his contribution, having watched the game back, I thought he was actually quite good. One of the things with Gyokeres, you look at the number of touches here, 115 successful touches, but 74 unsuccessful. That's not the highest touch success rate, but he is playing in an area of the pitch where he's got 2 centre-backs competing with him for most balls. Unlike a lot of players, he's getting the ball with his back to goal, or he's trying to spin and run in behind. So that means that in most situations, he's not actually the favorite to win it. The only time that he's going to be favorite is when the ball's laid off with ease and he comes back and pops it off. In most situations, Gyokeres will be in a duel. He will be in a battle. He's not going to be receiving the ball with freedom very often at Arsenal. That's going to be the same with any striker that plays there. But with Gyokeres, one of the things he's been criticized of is his balance. That's something that you can't get away from, and it's one of the reasons why he has so many unsuccessful touches. So whenever he was at Sporting, he would run in to win it, go for a duel, he'd go over, he gets a free kick straight away. In the Premier League, if you don't have your feet set and you don't have yourself balanced, if you fall over, the ref will basically wave on and let play go. And a defender will turn around and just stand and look at you and think, what are you doing, mate? Get up. That's something that he needs to work on. That's something that can be coached. That's a case of just setting yourself as you arrive. We're not talking about technical skills. We're talking about balance here. And that's just a case of setting your feet. It sounds easier than it is, given that he's 27 and he's spent a career doing this stuff. But it is something that we're already seeing that he can do. He can stay on his feet. And it is just a matter of retraining how he plays slightly in those scenarios, because he can do that. He's got the strength and he's got the balance. He's got the ability to hold players off, and he will only get better with this stuff. But when it comes to where he's getting the ball, he's getting it in areas where he can really, really trouble teams. And I'm going to highlight his penalty call against Newcastle. Again, you look at this move and look how quickly it goes up the park. Whenever it got to Saka, Gyokeres is on the edge of the back line. And you can see this ball when it breaks from Jacob Murphy. Look where Gyokeres is and look how quickly he got in behind. Straight away, he's in and he's looking for that penalty, which he should have got. Big clash of knees, but this was all about his awareness. And you go back here and you look where he is. He's making that run. He's inside Arsenal's half at the time. Ball comes up. He continues his run and he's running, and he's alive to it. Straight away, he's in there. That was something that we saw against Atletico Madrid. This is a lovely piece of play. Ball comes in, touch, turn and spin from Zubimendi, gets the ball in. Next minute, you see Gyokeres, and he was alive to it. Those two situations involve him starting in an area that doesn't necessarily make him the favorite. And straight away, his anticipation, his awareness, and his hunger to get in there is what brought him in. And this was beautiful play from Zubimendi. The turn and the flick was just absolutely sensational. And he ran the show against Atletico. But moments like this showed how dangerous Viktor Gyökeres was in the game. And it's no surprise to see that. And you look at his shot map this season, all his shots have come from inside the box. He's got 3 goals in the Premier League and he's hit 18 shots. His XG is 3.43, so he is slightly underperforming it. But again, when you look at the number of shots he's had, a lot of them right-footed. And this is where we can see him score more goals. He is starting to get opportunities. He is starting to grow. And he is starting to really showcase himself, what he can do in an Arsenal shirt. A big part now is just getting that goal. A 39% shot accuracy shows a player that is fairly reliable at putting the ball on target. But the thing is, he just needs to get that ball into the back of the net on a more frequent basis. And again, you look at his first goal against Forest. And this was one, again, it starts off with him occupying 2 defenders. Right in the center of the pitch, ball comes up from Calafiori into Eza, who makes that run in behind. And it's very simple. It was the case of them being switched off and Arsenal being very quick and very ruthless. And that's the big thing here. It's the faster we get the ball to him, the more effective he can be in and around the box, because he is only going to get better in these situations. He is only going to improve. And a big part of that is you look at the number of shots he's hitting. So this is an area that he can improve on, is the number of shots he's hitting, 2.43 a game. That's growing. Where this average is actually a bit misleading is you look at the games against Man City, the Liverpool game, the Man United game. He didn't have a shot in those games. Very, very quiet. They made it very, very difficult for him. That's brought his average down, but there are plenty of games where he's hitting up to 5 shots a game. That's the number that you want to be hitting. You look at Haaland's numbers per game. He's hitting a lot of shots. He's missing a lot of chances, but he scores bagfuls of goals. So with Gyokeres, the more shots he hits, the more he will score. And again, confidence is a big part of this. And that's something that, again, I think we're only going to see an improvement on. Because you look at his work rate, he's applying the most pressures in the final third. He is closing down like mad. He's running right until the end of the game. And you look at the player next to him, it's Erling Haaland. Gyokeres has almost 35 more pressures in the final third than Erling Haaland. And then it goes down to Igor Thiago on 245. There's a big, big difference between those between Thiago and Haaland, and then Haaland and Gyokeres. This is a guy that's really, really pressuring in the final third. He's allowing Arsenal to push teams back even further, and he's creating opportunities as a result of him putting teams under pressure. He's closing down goalkeepers, closing down centre backs. And it will come to a point where Kai Havertz is back and we're able to rotate him. Right now, he's having to play almost every minute of every game. And that's resulting in him being a little heavy legged at times and not quite getting the freshness that he needs in some games. If he was able to come off with 15, 20 minutes to go, like he did against Atletico Madrid, then we would probably see him slightly fresher. But at the minute, he's still closing down in the 92nd minute. He's still pressing like a madman, and he's still doing the things that we are seeing and getting him a lot of praise for. But I look back to the Fulham game, and you look at this. This is a chance that I felt was worth highlighting. Ball comes in, Jurriën Timber with Saka, some very, very nice play. And you can see again, Gyokeres in the center of the pitch with a centre back very, very close to him. And you can see the other centre back gazing over his shoulders, thinking, where is he? When Saka gets the ball, pops it off to Timber, comes in field and gets a really nice piece of play. Now Gyokeres is motoring. You can see him on his bike straight in. And this is something that I feel that comes back to balance. So I mentioned balance and duels. On this occasion, he comes running in. He actually strikes the ball reasonably well, but it goes at Leno and it's a comfortable height, comfortable save. But why was that the case? A big part of it is he rushes his shot on this occasion. I genuinely believe that he had more time there than he thought he did. You look at the distance the defenders are away. Gyokeres could have taken a touch in this scenario, lined himself up and really smashed that ball across goal. Instead, he's rushed the shot. And that has led to him getting it away, getting power on it, but maybe not getting the accuracy or hitting the corner as he would have liked to. And this is where he will improve with confidence. Also, with being used to the league, but a big part of being a striker is that belief, that regularity, that consistency, and that repetition that comes with scoring goals. When you start scoring goals, you don't think about getting the shot away quickly. You don't think in front of goal. A lot of it becomes instinct. And this is where I'm hoping these goals against Atletico just release some of the pressure from him, take that weight off his shoulders. And then whenever he gets into a situation like this, he will be able to stand up, take that touch, really set himself and smash it into the top corner like we know he can. He is a player that likes to take it first time, but he is also a player that is capable of taking that touch, taking the time. And you are playing against better goalkeepers. So if you've got the opportunity to take the touch to rebalance yourself, reset yourself, and refocus yourself, do it. Because early shots work, but from an angle like this, they have to be hit very hard and very true into a corner to make sure they beat the keeper. But these movements into the box are giving Arsenal something. That wasn't the only time in the Fulham game we saw it. We saw it again where he got the ball in from Saka once again, got to first touch out of his feet, spun his man, and got another good shot away. But again, it was straight at Leno to a degree. Nice height for him to save, and not enough kind of movement towards the corner. But those runs into the box are something that are really important. And if you look at Gyokeres, he is making the most runs into the box in the Premier League this season. And you look at the other players around him, very, very few are coming close. And it's very interesting to see Erling Haaland is not on this list, but he is a player that almost just lives in the penalty box. He is elusive in there. He creates space for himself. But this shows that Gyokeres is making the runs. There's two sides to this. People will say Gyokeres isn't being fed. I would also argue that he is only now starting to make the runs that demand his teammates find him. And we know he can make those runs because we've seen him do it. A prime example of that is in the Champions League whenever we played Olympiacos. So Martin Odegaard, ball breaks to him, and you can see him here, looks up, and here's Gyokeres making the run. Very, very deep, but Odegaard sees that run, sees it a high line from Olympiacos, and straight away Gyokeres is on his bike, and he is in behind. This same run was made against Athletic Club in the Champions League in the first game, and it was made a couple of times. In the Olympiacos game, Gyokeres should have come away with a goal. Didn't, and again on this occasion, just like against Athletic Club, he took the ball away from himself and should have done more. So that made the angle tighter, and it meant by the time he got through on goal, it wasn't quite favourable. But ultimately, this is a guy that is ready to score goals. You can see that the chances are there. You can see what he's doing. You can see the determination, and you can see how often he is getting into goal-scoring situations. Whenever a player is struggling to score, I always ask myself, why are they struggling to score? Is it that they look a bit lost, like Kai in his first couple of months at Arsenal? Is it that they're just running around that there's an adaptation period? With Gyokeres, I believe there is an adaptation period. I also think the team are getting used to him, and I think now he's starting to look fit. So what's probably best next is that he has some rest, because he's playing a lot of minutes, a lot of games, and ultimately he's at a point of the season where there's a lot of games. So whenever he gets a break and a couple more goals under his belt, we are really going to see these goals continue to fly in, because he's making the runs, he's hitting the shots, and he's going to have the belief very, very soon. So this is why I believe that Viktor Gyökeres is about to explode in an Arsenal shirt. So tell me, do you agree? Drop a comment below. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel. And ultimately, please tell me what you think about Viktor Gyökeres' recent form and whether he is about to start scoring the goals that we need. Have a great day. See you again very soon.
You're now listening to the Arsenal Therapy Podcast.